Oh, you got those 07 J's, huh?
Exactly.
Look at daddy.
And then you meet people and you talk about it, and it'll be like few and far between, but it'll be like, oh, that was kind of cool to like see somebody else recognize something that I'm into.
Yeah, so. That is cool. Okay.
Well, I started the pod while you guys were having shoe talk, so yeah.
All right.
In classic fashion, we on. hey, doing that out the gate is kind of wild. That's kind of wild. I kind of lends credence to who's sitting next to me if you're not channeling in from the YouTube.
Yeah. Whose voice is that?
Crazy. Hey, you know what? I'm just happy you guys were, able to come here to jam. You know what I mean? We changed the time up, not necessarily today, but we got everybody that's here to help out and keep the fort going. So I'm cool with that.
It's on YouTube Live.
What do you mean? No.
Oh, okay. I was like, all right.
Hey, no, I can't do live because sometimes I need to take some shit back.
No.
I was like,
we be cutting.
I was gonna say, he different.
We got safe words over here.
You know what's funny? Because we had an episode maybe about 4 months ago. I don't think I ever told you I have it fully, but she had got off about something, and YouTube was like, "Nah, you ain't got no facts on that. Go ahead and take this out." They canceled the whole video.
Really?
Yeah, I had to go in there and edit it, and then they made me do a training.
That's crazy.
Like a 5-minute training.
Was I giving misinformation?
YouTube was saying not that you were giving misinformation, that the information that you were saying gets disputed by other evidence.
Interesting. Do you remember what it was?
I don't even know. I don't want to say it again. But
okay,
this episode won't come out.
Yeah.
No,
we'll
right?
talk about it later.
I can't remember exactly what it was off the top of my head. But
do you remember Twitter doing us like that back in the day?
I was not big on Twitter. I still have a ghost account.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife has one too.
It was
I want her to know that I know. I think she told me though, to be real.
It was the "Do You Like Birds" episode.
Oh yeah, I do. So they hit us on that
because we had the Alicia Keys audio in it.
That part, yes, I do know that. So YouTube does that still. So what I do, like when I play music and stuff like that, I will go ahead and like cut out the music
on YouTube only.
Yes, so I'll record this part, cut the music, and then go straight into the intro.
Gotcha.
So like that's always been like my little trademark thing to do now. Actually, other pods do that now that I think about that. It ain't just us, but some people like get their own original music, and I don't. Matter of fact, my man that does his pod, Jonah.
I love his theme song.
Yeah, and
what's the name of that pod?
Barbershop Confidential.
Gotcha.
I actually think you would like that one a lot.
I'm gonna check it out.
You know why? Because he did something.
Wait, hold on. You say that a lot. Why would I like that?
Okay, yeah, but it's
I'm
not.
Surprised. Yeah.
Why, don't do that. Don't do that. You don't know it.
We're gonna talk about that one too.
And I love the Barbershop Confidential podcast.
I love it too. That's my guy too.
But
and Jonah just recently lost a cool friend of his. So my condolences to Jonah and that friend's family. But absolutely. Prayers. I think you would like it because he always interviews somebody new. Every week he's consistent. And Lex had me dying one day. He was like, yo, you don't feel weird that you've had over 200 people come to your house?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, it was a great question. Because it's always someone random. It's whether it's a rapper. He's had some OnlyFans girls on there too before. Like I don't even know where he'd be meeting them at.
All walks of life.
Very,
very interesting.
Jiu-jitsu, gym people, like just regular people. Like it's almost like hits from the street, but you have a conversation with somebody for an hour that you don't really know.
That's a good premise. I like that.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I figure you would like it because I feel like you're a people person to a degree.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So it's like that's why. Yeah, I said to her, we're all to a degree. I'm not gonna sit here and say I like people all the dang time, but yeah, man. So yeah. Let's go ahead and get to the top of the episode. You know he's back, so I gotta hit him with a little bit of Mark Morrison, Return of the Mac. Yes. I want to welcome y'all to the You Wasn't Outside podcast on the Grown Folks Podcast Network. I'm one of your hosts, not doing the most normal ass Carl. Is it gonna hit me?
Normal ass Carl.
There we go. To my right, I have starting guard. With thigh-high boots and a cheetah leopard print skirt. Miss Juicy J. Shut the fuck up.
That is funny.
And to her right, I got my man, Mr. at Big Mouth C's. Oh, I don't even know if it's at anymore. Are you even on social media right now?
No, I mean, I got a Reddit account, but
hey,
that's about it.
Hey, I don't think we've ever like talked about like we have
Reddit.
Yes, but we've never talked about like our affinity to Reddit. Like I have a big affinity to Reddit.
I appreciate the style of information sharing on Reddit. Like, there's places that you can go that you trust as communities, even though you've never met these people, where you can gather information that you have a certain level of trust for. And I feel like that's the difference between other platforms.
Yeah.
You got a lot of misinformation. And it's easier to weed that out on Reddit.
Reddit's like personal experiences. Like people are sharing, like to me, like the ones that I follow are personal experiences or a community of people where I feel like we have like interests, or interests. For example, I follow the Angel shit. I don't meet too many Angel fans. So it's like, whereas I feel like you can run into a Dodger fan every corner you turn, even down here.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So like that kind of helps out. But
as evidenced by playoff games.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big difference. Big difference. Miss Juicy, how you been?
I've been good.
You're a little close for me on the mic. My bad.
Yeah,
You good,
I
you
noticed
good.
last week I was a little... Yeah, no, I've been good. It was, the kids were out of school this week, unexpectedly. I have twins.
Okay.
2.5-year-old twins.
That's cute.
Boy and a girl, Magic and Marvel.
I love those names.
Thank you so much. So it was a struggle, but it was actually a really good week for me as far as like, I've mentioned before that my son has shown indications that he's going to be on the spectrum.
Okay.
And so with that has come lots of doctor's appointments, referrals, and things like that. And when we first started kind of getting into it and I started getting the referrals, it was during my separation. And there was a lot happening, and I really had a lot of guilt. I still do for not getting these appointments in place as soon as possible. Because the thing with, we know early intervention across all boards, but specifically in the autism community can really make the difference on where my son is going to set him up to succeed the most. And so I have really, really bad like anxiety, especially around, and I get like executive dysfunction around these type of phone calls. I can't even explain it. It sounds insane.
I feel like that sounds very, very normal.
Okay, thank you. Because it's like, it's just a phone call.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of adversities with these kind of phone calls. And I know that this was just the first phone call of many appointments. All of that to be said, I'm working with a life coach and a mindset coach. And one of my goals this week was to set up all these appointments.
That's dope.
Yeah, it's been a game changer. And having someone to be accountable for, right? And I was supposed to do it on Monday. It didn't get done on Monday. It got done on Tuesday and Wednesday. But I got all of these. It was an occupational therapist, speech therapist.
That's a lot.
ADA therapy, the official screening for the autism, and something called Early Start.
Yeah.
And I had feelings that when I first went to the doctors with my children to get their physicals to enroll them in school, I had thought Magic was maybe on the spectrum from different behaviors. When I went in there, I walked out, they were like, she's fine, it's him. And then it was like this eye opener. I was like, oh my God, he does do this. He has gone back regression in his development. But I was like, as I've discovered more about autism, girls and women are very easily, like they don't get diagnosed. They fly under the radar because their symptoms present differently. And so I brought it up, and
That's interesting.
yeah, and so I brought it up, and we decided to go ahead and get Magic screened as well. Better safe than sorry. She's also in speech therapy. Marvel had his first speech therapy appointment already this week. Like,
Okay, Marvel.
yeah, and the lady, the speech therapist, she was like, she was like, he understands language. She was like, but he doesn't understand like the social cues on how to incorporate language and when to use words. And so she was really hopeful. So it was a great week because I got all of those appointments rolling, but it's also a little bit, because it was like, oh, we're in it now. And I didn't realize, like, I had a breakdown because I was like, wow.
No, you good.
I don't know why. It's heavy.
Yeah.
I am really coming to the understanding that I have a child with a disability. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love my son. He is my dream come true. I love my daughters, but I always wanted a son. And I had a vision for him, of course, and it's different, and that's okay. But the responsibilities, the doctor's appointment, the everything, and I struggled to take care of myself.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm like, oh, but this is like serious. And so just like the weight of it hit me as now I have all these appointments on the books and they're telling me there's only more coming.
Yeah.
This is going to be your life. Like, and the doctors told me it has to be. They're like the ages of 0 to 5. They're like, we have to immerse him in all of these therapies. This has to be your number one priority. And so I was like, okay, but it just hit, you know, and I was like, damn, like, I'm really out here.
You mentioned one of the interventions that they're, or modalities, like wrong word, modalities that they're going to use is ABA. I used to do that.
Really?
And so if I could provide encouragement.
Yeah. And I want to ask you something about that.
I've seen a lot of youth just develop differently.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a lot of what people like have a misunderstanding on when it comes to children on the spectrum.
Yes.
Is not that they don't function, they just function in a different way. And so if you can understand what that is and then help other people understand what that is, then that life can be as rich as any other.
That's so beautifully said. Like I read, like autism is not a disease.
No.
It's a neurodivergency in the way, like you said, that you operate and you do things. And one of my concerns with the ABA, or
applied behavioral analysis,
was learning from the autism community was that sometimes in those therapies that what the concern was is that they're teaching children how to mask or how to blend, how to appear normal. Whereas, and so I brought that to the speech therapist. I said, I'm someone who masked my entire life. And then I burnt out and almost killed myself, literally. And then had to check myself into a facility. And so, like, you know, I don't want my children feeling like they have to mask. And she was like, look, she was like, right now we're just trying to get him to socialize. Like, he don't even know what masking is, girl. She was like, don't get ahead of yourself. She was like, we're just trying to give him the tools so that he can operate more comfortably in spaces.
Yeah. One of the ways to mitigate that, because what I would notice a lot is that as a parent, you need a break. And so sometimes having a service provider come into your home feels like a built-in break where you could go take a shower, read a book, do something else, while another responsible adult is helping your child. But I would always encourage the parents to be right there.
Yeah.
Because what I'm doing for this 90 minutes only works if you're doing it for
the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Every day.
90 minutes every day, bare minimum.
Yeah.
And so sometimes if you don't have that, there's only certain things that you can do, which is like, okay, well, I got to show my supervisor that I'm rendering results in this moment. So you mask, and you can teach kids to like learn patterns where it looks like you've learned a behavior, but really you just learned to look like you've learned a behavior.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So making sure that
yourself and siblings, right? Because then you mentioned something interesting, and this is this is just like a passion of mine.
Yeah.
But because I always wonder what that looks like for siblings in situations like that, because siblings learn behavior from one another.
That's real.
So your other child doesn't know autism.
Yes.
They just know I have this sibling who I might admire, look up to, model myself after. And then, you know, but it could work the other way around where you have a child that's, and again, the language is like typical functioning.
Yes.
And then you have your child who may learn in an atypical way, but can pick up patterns from their sibling that they're watching do these things and render positive results for themselves.
And I feel like, you know, the twins, I'm like, I believe in God. I don't think it was by choice. I think it's like divine faith. And I find it so interesting that they have one another because I can see magic. Like you said, she doesn't know anything. So she's like, that's her twin brother. So whatever she's doing, she's like, come on, Marvel, let's go, Marvel. She grabs him by the hand and pulls him. Like, I was like, what a blessing to have a built-in person who is teaching you how to socialize is kind of making you participate.
Yeah, and naturally. They're not forcing it. They're just doing what children would do in that scenario. Now, let me ask you both a question. because after working in the field for so long, I've come across this industry that really intrigues me, is because a lot of parents that have children that are neurodivergent have to restructure what they thought parenting was going to be for them. And not even specifically when they're adolescents, but more specifically when they're adults. Because you would think, I get you to 18 and then you can show some autonomy. So in that situation, you have to think about, what does long-term care look like for this child? And I think it's really, really dope, is because in a more, I guess, traditional fashion, we'll think that we'll outlive our parents, right? And as siblings, if you have siblings, that then becomes your like direct support network. And your child will have somebody that was there literally every step of the way.
I seen a dude on Instagram.
Thank you for giving that to me.
One thing too I want to say is that who not a better person to experience this? Right? If we're looking at it as a gift. No, for real. Because
I thought about that.
You brought it up and you said, like, look, I've had some hard times where I question if I wanted to be here. You're going to always have somebody here that's going to need you. Yeah. You know what I mean?
God,
for real.
He don't make no accidents,
and like C said, like, you get built-in breaks, but I think it's cool. Like, so much of what we do in life, I always think like, yo, man, what a blessing it is just to be busy. Like if you've ever, I've worked with older adults that were on their way to just transitioning, and it was like, yo, like nobody came to see them, you know. And I'm like, damn, this dude was a doctor, this lady was a lawyer, or something like that, and like someone needed their help and their expertise at some point, whereas no one comes to visit them anymore, right? So it's like in your situation that you're explaining right now, it's like you're always going to have someone that's going to need you in some capacity. What capacity that's going to be, we don't know. Time will tell what that is. Yeah. But you're always going to be needed. Yeah. And with that gives you purpose.
Exactly. And that's why I know it wasn't no accident. God was like, we keeping you. Not one might have not done it, but two? Bitch, you ain't going nowhere. You're here. All right, God. What do you want to do with me?
and I will say, just even in these brief interactions, you definitely have the type of personality that somebody needs when they need somebody to think outside of the box when it comes to caring for them. You know, like some people are so rigid in their personality that I'm quite sure that being in this scenario would be that much harder. And not to minimize what you're experiencing, but you can just tell that you have a lot of innate qualities that are gonna benefit a kid that needs somebody, you know, to be an exceptional parent.
I really appreciate that. Really.
Cease, how you been?
Yeah.
Oh,
I gotta address an elephant too, but go ahead.
I've been chilling. I just got a promotion, so
hey, there you go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's not no little thing.
How you feel about that?
More money?
It's more money.
More responsibility. To a point.
It's just different.
Right.
And so I miss what I used to.
But you're in a leadership position is what I'm saying. So it's more responsibility in that fashion.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I think I'm like in that mourning phase of like, you know, when you're good at something and you can do it almost like effortlessly, and then you earn a thing and now you have to kind of like rebuild your worth within that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, you know, so I'll just be glad when more time has gone on and I've shown myself worthy of having this opportunity.
You know, it's funny, like
you're worthy now.
Thank you.
But feeling,
probably
feeling more confident and comfortable in your position. And
on paper, just, you know what I mean, to be able to come in and say, like, I've been making these types of decisions, so that's why. Yeah. You know, and I used to be able to do that. Now it's like it's that's different.
A big deal. Yeah. That's dope, man. I'm happy for you for your new endeavors for sure. And you know, knowing where we work at, you know, I think it's cool that like we in position now where some of the people that knew who we were 10 years ago, or at least 10 years ago when I started, yours a little bit longer. When we started there, it's like they look at us a little different now too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Like how? Like a little respect on your name?
I remember being like a young dude that when we got in, like we were the young crowd, right? And then you have 40, 50-year-old people that have been there 15, 20 years. They've slowly retired out. But there was a switch that happened, at least for me in the last 3 or 4 years, where it's like those people that used to look at me as being naive, they come to me with real questions now.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with like just being personable, like the intangibles that you bring to a job is because like you'll probably be in circles around people where you don't think that they know like your worth as it pertains to the job. And then other people will co-sign that for you just by how they communicate with you.
Yeah.
You know, I was in a meeting the other day and it was a pretty high up person that just happened to be a supervisor at the time that I started. And then she was like, oh, we go way back. And I could tell everybody's reaction in the room was like, oh, like we got to talk to him a little bit different because he knows this person.
Right.
And
That's a real
and
thing.
really, I don't know that person. I just know that person probably thinks, oh, he's funny. He was personable.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so that, you know.
But even that interact, like you said, is a sign of respect. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
certainly.
people want to come and I'm like, who's that guy? Especially being black. Let's be
Well,
real.
yeah, because like
It's a real thing.
we work in an industry where that makes you stand out, so
Yeah.
people at least know of you, and then like what they know of you is important, and you can only make that a reality. You know, is how you interact with folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I waited till now for our OG hardcore listeners, right? Lex is on sabbatical for some time, maybe a couple pods, maybe 3. Wish my brother well, you know, in his endeavors and, you know, finding peace and everything. But kind of, you know, been on ice. I'll try to reach out, talk to him, see how he's doing. I be trying to give people space, right? Me and Jay was talking about that a little bit off mic, where it's like, you know, for the most part, like, yeah, you would love to think that like we were all interactive in terms of like conversations and stuff like that, but we get so busy, like even talking to you, like I can go 3 or 4 months not talking to you or whatever, and then call you and we'll be on the phone for an hour and they'd be like, yo, we need to connect. Or if I run into you somewhere, we just need to connect. So
it's interesting that, you know, how doing this affects a friendship.
yeah.
Because you sometimes lose some of your responsibilities as a friend to keep the production
It's a
going.
real thing.
Right? You might have needed to talk to somebody about something important, but we're recording that day. Right? So right?
You're right.
So in a situation like that, it's like what takes precedent? And yeah, it just creates this interesting circumstance, because I know when him and I, like we've not very much disagreed in our friendship, but most of our disagreements had to do with doing this podcast.
Yeah. And, you saying historically?
And exclusively, right? We probably disagreed about some things that we just never even talked about each other, or like maybe said it to, you know, your significant other or whatever. And so I always found that to be interesting, because people ask me like, well, why don't you do the podcast? And I was like, well, I value my friendship more. And I'm not saying that, you know, it ruined the friendship. I just didn't know how to balance both appropriately. And I enjoyed the friendship more.
I think I still suck at that.
What?
Like balancing between like the two, because it's almost like what you're explaining is like what I tell my kids. Like there's a give and take of me being the person.
Wait.
What you say? No, I'm not saying like I'm sending y'all in
It
there.
was like, I tell
crazy.
my kids the same thing I'm about to tell you.
Grow up, motherfucker.
Look who's coming to me now.
No, what I'm saying
Pick
is,
them toys up. Oh, I ain't bring no toys in here.
it's about the hats, right? Like, yo, like I'm dad, but then in this instance, I'm coach.
Yeah.
I'm normal as Carl on this pod, right? But then I'm friend when we turn the mics off. Like,
Yeah.
like which dose of me do you get? And like after a while, you get such a heavy dose of me as like normal as Carl, and we're not having real conversations.
Yeah.
We're skating around real things that I would talk to you about if the mics was off, and I wouldn't be holding back on certain things. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's like it was interesting for you to bring that up, because it's like, shit, even thinking about it like with Star, like I ain't talked to Star really at all.
No, I talked to her yesterday.
That's what I'm saying. And I had told you about that. I was like, yo, they got a really better, they have a better relationship than me and she, you know, have.
You have told me that. Yeah.
Do you, okay, so why do you think that is?
Me?
No, I think it has to do with personalities.
That's what I'm saying. Me.
Star, no. But Star and I just have more in common.
Damn. You click.
But it's not even like a click.
Hey, I've been jealous. Let me be real.
It's not even. Okay, no.
I never heard his voice get that high.
Let's keep it simple, right? You're not, and again, and if
I'm not gonna
and if
take
I'm wrong
offense,
on
go
this,
ahead,
because
flat out.
and I take this very, very seriously, right? But you're not the friend that I would invite to church, and not because you're not church worthy. I would just think in my mind, if he wanted to go, he'd ask me, and you
Yeah,
just
I
never
probably
asked
tell
me.
you no.
Yeah,
right.
and I know that.
You're right.
And so like her and I have gone to church a lot.
Right.
So it's just we're just different.
And y'all from the same place too.
So we definitely have that in common.
Same
so there's
team,
just
like
You
everything.
have a lot of alignment together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's just it.
I think if you had to say a celebrate, like let's say we were at her 50th birthday celebration, like your speech would be fire.
Well, no, and then I'll tell you this: I don't know that you and her would have been the friends to the degree that at any point that y'all became if it weren't for me.
True.
Y'all would have just been two black people that worked together and had that type of like alignment.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is strong.
Yeah.
But I don't know that
strong at work.
I don't know that she ever would have been over here at any point.
Like Miss Judy.
Oh, shout out to the God.
Yeah. Like Miss Judy. But I'm cool with her there. You would think we was the best of friends, or she, came over. But it's like, no, I only really talked to her.
Miss Judy got really good boundaries still.
Yeah,
that's what I respect about her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've been trying to be chummy, and it's like it's not time for that. And I'm like, I get it.
Yeah. I ain't mad at it at all. So, I mean, like I said, man, that wasn't a precursor conversation of anything, crazy. It's more so that, our brother, is wanting to take some time to, kind of focus on him. And I mean, the window is always open for him to come and pod with us. So, all right. I'm gonna get the random. I gotta get this off because I owe some apologies real quick.
All right, and then I want to do something that I think is a little fun. So just
okay. This is gonna be real quick. Then my bad. Let me hit the.
Be careful. I'm the fun killer.
Well, we'll see if you agree. Fun is relative, right? So we'll see if you think that this exercise is
not the exercise, coach.
It's like a mental
crazy.
exercise to think about what if scenarios. I do that a lot, so we'll see.
All right, so then here we go. We the People. That was a segment that me and Lex had came up with.
Okay.
All right, so we have to do a quick recap real quick. Last week we had a heated discussion in which I left my seat for a little bit, and it was a hit, right? I left my seat for a reason. I was testing something out, but I also felt strongly about how I felt. The situation that came up for the new listeners and also for C's that's in here now was that I had read off a story synopsis in which a lady was forthcoming out the gate with a man that, hey, look, these kids need a dad, and I'm not out here dating just to date. And I thought that was crazy to say within the first 2 weeks. 75% of our listeners, when I polled it on our Instagram, said that I was crazy for thinking that was a wild topic to bring up at the beginning of a date.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're so dramatic.
I am dramatic, but I also
she did not say these kids need a dad.
She did say these kids.
In fact, she said these kids have a dad. However, if you are going to date me and eventually be around my kids, you need to be a positive role model.
What's wrong with that?
That's not how she said it, but
okay. Well, how about this? What if she said? What if she's a blunt person and she said these kids need a dad, and undeniably she was drop dead gorgeous. And I only add that part in there.
That'd be mattering to dudes. Right when you said it.
Because attractiveness is important to some people.
Right.
And I feel like some people can get that off and nobody would bat an eye because it's like, oh, of course that person would say that in that way. So I feel like that's something that if you're confident, like, hey, I want to date. And obviously we're having this conversation in the first place because you want to date me too. So let me tell you what I don't want to waste my time on.
That was their argument.
Because this person was likely in their 30s, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
Right? So now at this point, you have now that we're getting older, we realize that you have a 10-year window to do certain things.
Right.
And you don't have time to waste.
It's a good point. I mean, and even then, it's like we were talking about like the dating pool changes, right? Like your availability. Like single me, I had time to do anything. Like no kids and shit. Like, yo, I can go Thursday night. Oh, I'll be there. Now people invite me to do shit, but I got practice that night. I can't do it. So respecting someone's time, I understand that now.
Okay.
Hearing everyone else's like thought process, I understand that now. And my point was not like, yo, it's crazy that you brought it up. I just said, what if I don't say anything? And then they said, well, she's done with you. And I said, that's kind of crazy for her to be done.
You don't say anything in what way?
Let's just say she texts me and then I changed the subject on her. I didn't acknowledge what she said, but I'm just wanting to see further. And then the deduction was, oh, well, then she's done dating you.
I mean, she might.
I know.
and at that point, if you're ignoring what somebody's saying that you're showing interest in, like you don't have enough interest. You don't get to, you know what I mean? Like if you're interested in me, you don't get to dictate what I'm saying. It's your job to respond to what I'm saying. Even if I don't like it, then that just tells us where we're going.
That was an ism right there. See, had he said that last week,
you know what? I would have gave. Wait. I'm gonna tell you.
Enough interest is right. You were trying to say it. It was just the way the message, not just you. It was him. The way he was delivering it was crazy.
Yeah,
and I also think sometimes when you land on a specific point of a point.
Yeah.
So like,
explain that.
So like for you, it was like, I don't like being talked to like that. Like you shouldn't be able to talk to me like that this early. So whatever she said wouldn't have mattered.
You saying I got that personality?
I dislike when you do this to me, so I caution myself from.
No, you're right.
But I just like, I feel like you are very strict when it comes to certain things.
It's so funny that you said that. Durant told me that today.
Yeah.
And almost got in a fight yesterday. That's why.
And some people are just a little bit more nuanced.
Yeah.
And I think that same quality makes you really, really good at other stuff.
Yeah.
That's why that same quality is why you're good at podcasting.
Yeah, I don't look at it as a deficit. I was just like, that's crazy that was an observation that two of my good friends like would say that to me. Because long story less long, dude hit a ball over Corey's head yesterday, and I almost lost it because he didn't say anything, and then he tried to like puff his chest out like, yo, like, I don't give a shit. And then I was like, yo, who you talking to like that? So when you said that, my response was like, yo, like you're not going to talk to me in that manner or whatever, think that that's going to be okay with you. So that's crazy that you said that because you're right on par. So I agree with you.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
So, all right. I just wanted to make sure I get that out. Yeah, I'm dramatic. You're right. All right. Random shit to fill in time, man. Got my man Cease. What you got for us?
All right, so it's a scenario, right?
Okay.
So, did I do any of these scenarios with you?
Not that I know of. Oh, you did at the Christmas banquet. Real quickly.
Oh,
problem was it was kind of loud though, so I forgot what we did.
Oh, okay.
Let's have fun. Let's do it.
I actually don't know if I did this one. All right.
All right.
So these are just like what if scenarios, right? Okay. So it's multi-step. So we'll start from the beginning and we'll progress accordingly. So you're in a relationship, right? Okay. With a partner. You guys are in love. Your partner leaves one day and you get a random phone call, and on the other line, it's the police. They say your partner's been in an accident, right? And this is a hypothetical. I'm not putting this on anybody's partner because I'm big on energies too. So
yeah.
Right.
There's some wood under there if you want to
say. It's just a scenario.
So that day, your partner was driving on a windy road, and they went over an embankment.
I don't like this game.
Right. Hold on. It gets to a point. It gets to a point, right? And then they say, but that's not it. We don't see any evidence of like your partner trying to break. Right.
That's
so
I don't remember this one.
Okay. So I don't think we were having a luncheon, so I don't think I would have brought this up.
Yeah.
So if you know your partner to be a person where you would think they would never do that to themselves.
Yeah.
What do you rely on in that moment? Your understanding or the physical evidence?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I need to ponder a little bit more.
I'm going to go off of my understanding, right?
Okay.
Physical evidence, in my opinion, right, and based on like a million things that's happened over the course of time in life, anything that's touched by man is, doomed to be flawed at some point.
Okay.
Right? And so, I mean, I've even known people to go into the doctor, like just personally, even when my mom, was sick, previously before, it was like, yo, like, oh, you're fine. And this is a medical professional, making these statements. So it's like, I'm going to go off of the vibes of that person that day, right? What was going on, whatever their previous history was. I'm going to use all that information together to come up with what the hell happened on this specific day versus what the physical evidence say.
Okay.
That's where I lie at.
Okay. All right. There's more. Yeah. You don't have to like persevere on this part specifically because there's more, but I would love to hear what you would say.
My understanding as well.
Okay. So, and again, like you got to take these portions of the story that I'm telling, and you could put different aspects on it. So, right, your partner is an avid book reader. Okay. So after this has happened, you're having some time to think about and process. You both have landed on, I know my partner, I know what they didn't do, regardless of what the police are saying.
Right.
And you look into one of their favorite books in a passage that they would always say to you. You know which page it was on. And on that page, there's a sticky note in there, and it says 3 words. I lost it. If you saw that or anything that like made you think differently, do you feel like you would land on something else, or are you still sticking with I know my partner?
No, I think that I would start, especially like just if it's literally me and the lens I have and the experience I have with mental health, my spidey senses would start tingling a little bit, Okay. I'd be like, this is
too ominous.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Carl?
Yeah. You said they were recently reading this book?
Well, this is their favorite book. And so the only reason you knew to go to this book is because you've seen them read it a million times, and they've even sat there.
This could be some time after or whatever. That doesn't necessarily matter, right?
Yeah.
Like I found the book somewhere.
Yeah.
You see how I did that too? Like I tried to give grace before I even assumed even
so
getting there.
It sounds like you're falling on, I know my partner and this might just be a coincidence.
Well, we're a why society. Right, like we always want to know why something happened.
Especially now that we have more information, our whys are even bigger.
Yeah, the whys is even bigger. So like I'm telling you, like the book isn't enough for me to be like that's where my conclusion. It would cast doubt.
Okay, cast doubt. Okay,
yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
Now fast forward, it's the day of the service, right? And you're trying to connect with your partner, so you're going through some of their old clothes, picking up some scents, and you go in a pair of pants.
Okay.
And you reach in the pocket. And there's a crumpled up piece of paper in the pants pocket.
You got a lot of paper.
You unravel it, and it's a lottery ticket.
Okay.
This is where it gets good. It's a lottery ticket, and you do a little research, and it's a winning lottery ticket. And it's big money. And people always ask me to give them a number, whatever big money is to you, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And you do a little bit more research, and you realize that they've had this ticket for a minute.
How long is a minute?
Hold on. So I guess I've never actually answered this question. So I'll get to that. They've had this ticket for a minute, and I'll tell you what a minute is after you answer my question.
All right.
Are you mad that they didn't tell you about this winning ticket, even for more than a day? Because right? I mean, in my mind, I'm like,
absolutely.
You're mad.
Yeah.
But you're grieving.
I don't give a fuck. Now he's a liar. Now you better be happy you're in the grave. You better be happy you got there.
Hey,
he's lying.
I cut the brakes.
The name of this episode.
I found the damn ticket.
Wait. The name of this episode should be "Money is the Root of All Evil" because that turned so quick.
Oh, she said I cut the brakes.
It only took. There was a dollar amount on grief right there. Okay, Carl, what about you?
So you can be true at once. I can be grieving and angry.
You're right. I'm sad that I can't tell you why I'm so mad at you right now.
Knowing that my wife came from humble beginnings, I don't think she killed herself at that point.
Oh, you're going back to the original premise.
She dipped with the money. I'm trying to.
Why I get mad though for a second? You better not.
Wait.
$20 that day.
This is interesting. This is interesting where you've landed because I think that you're forgetting. I lost it.
What do you mean?
Because he said the lottery ticket.
This is making him think that she didn't do it, and I'm like, oh, are you coming to that conclusion because you forgot about that part?
Oh, then I'm with her then.
What's that?
Why do you go off a cliff instead of like?
Well, we don't know that. We don't know that because what you originally said
don't
is
get mad at my answer.
what you originally said is I know my partner. So where'd that go?
Yeah, but if I'm first of all, I'm going through the stages of grief right now. I'm in the first stage. Relax.
Exactly.
He's in denial. I cannot believe she did this.
You could have called me. I would have looked a few pants pockets.
Okay. There's two last pieces.
Yeah, go ahead.
So. You also, after doing more research, you realize that in order for you to benefit from this ticket that you are now the owner of, in order for you to benefit from this ticket, remember it's the day of the service. You have to go to the lottery office by 12 p.m. today, and the service is at 12 p.m. Well, now this multi parts to the last part, right? So. Do you skip the service and go cash in? Wait. You skip the service and go cash in the ticket. Do you tell anybody from your significant other's family why you skipped the service? And then do you share any of the money with them?
How long we been married or together?
I said loving relationship, so I want to say whatever a loving relationship to you, but presumably a long time.
If it's under a year?
No. Presumably a long time.
Presumably a long time.
Loving relationship, yeah.
You know what? All right, I got to think about it from my own in-laws.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that.
I'll probably tell them the truth.
You tell them in the moment, like, I'm not going to be
I'd actually break them off some bread, to be real with you.
Do you think that any of them would feel like it was their bread to break off to you?
No.
Okay. Now, I want to ask somebody.
Like, would they give it to me?
Now, so this is too easy for you because you can put characteristics with the characters.
Right.
Hypothetically.
Yeah,
and you don't know, and mind you, you're going to meet this person.
Well, she is married, technically speaking.
But, you know.
You don't talk to the in-laws? We never talked about that.
My in-laws they both are deceased.
Oh, see, and I'm late to the game,
No
so I
sister,
don't
no
know
cousin,
everybody's
brother?
stats. So now you,
I'm single.
now
I
you-
am
now
single,
you
but
can feel
I'm
me.
still legally married.
Gotcha, okay.
But she's been married is my point. My fault. That wasn't.
Yes.
That's not what I was saying. I didn't mean like currently. But.
Listen, I don't know anything,
Yeah.
and I'm
I mean, hold on. Don't be blocking my shots.
I'm like, hey, I like the basketball reference because I was like, I'm learning on the fly. I'm running the fast break, and she was like, somebody blocking her shots. That was a chase down at that.
Literally.
Okay, so
No cousins, no brothers, no sisters that are close that he's close to.
His sister, his big sister.
Okay,
Yes.
I feel like that matters.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, hold on. If you don't mind, I would love you to like think about it in a hypothetical sense.
I will.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking about it, I was going back and forth and thinking of the kids as dad and thinking of a new person.
Yeah.
To be honest, if I'm in a loving relationship, and first of all, my thought process is, did he run off with the money? And then I'm like, I have it. It's in my hands. I'm thinking if I'm in a loving relationship, we have kids, we have a household, my partner would want me to go get that money to make sure that me and his children are comfortable. No, I'm not telling nobody because we know how people get funny with money.
Yeah.
I am breaking off the family afterwards. I am, but I'm the loving partner. I've been the one in this household. I've been the one supporting this man to be able to do whatever he's doing. I'm holding shit down. That's my money.
I feel both of y'all on that because I'm definitely going to get the money. I'm skipping the funeral, and then I'm throwing the funeral every single year. me and my baby, we
She
celebrate.
the magic.
Exactly. Don't worry, my baby. I got my baby. Don't
I'm sending
trip.
out flyers every year, Baby Fest.
But I'll definitely give. But I give them
earned.
money. I wouldn't tell. They probably would just wonder where the fuck I got it from.
Oh, you wouldn't say?
No.
I wouldn't worry about that type of curiosity. If I'm giving a free will gift to somebody else,
They're gonna wonder. You know what the
I'm
concern
not
is?
asking nobody where that money
Someone's
came
gonna
from.
ask, yo, did she have an insurance
Hey,
policy?
You know what they
about?
would also wonder about if you didn't get the money and you still didn't help them out if they were going through something. So wonder is always going to be a part of people's reality.
That's a real point.
That makes me think though, like if somebody came up and, a close family member, close friend, and just was like, I'm up right now, here's a stack.
Yeah.
Whatever, like that significant. Would you ask? I'm not asking questions. I don't care if it's drug money. Well, maybe I would because I don't want like murder money.
You may
a really good
may
I don't
not
know if I'm asking though.
you may not ask, but I think we all probably could think of a person that you'd want to do something for, and you'd be precautious about it because they would ask.
If I gave you 50K, how would you feel?
Huh?
That's a good question to ask somebody. If I gave you 50,000, let's just say, look, make it real. If I pulled 50 out of my pocket right now and say, hey, this for you.
I'd say, how'd you fit all them bills in your pocket?
That's a good one. Big pants. Yeah, big pants. But for real, like if somebody I feel like we always talk about, if somebody gave you $1 million or whatever.
Well,
but if you gave me 50,
so,
I'm gonna be like, yo.
I'm gonna tell you where my brain goes because I've seen people in a similar situation. I just need to know enough information to know how I need to do my taxes. Because if you gave me 50K, there's a scenario where you give me 50K and that ruins my life.
Cash.
There's a scenario where you give me 50K and that ruins my life.
What scenario is that?
Like if that money was a part of, you find a bag on the ground. Most people say, I'm not turning that money in. But if that money was lost doing a drug sting, and they mark those bills.
Oh, okay, you talking about that.
Right now, you've just committed a federal crime by picking up some money and doing what most
so
people
you
say.
leave 50 alone if it's attached.
But
to
this is what
that.
I'm saying though. I need to know enough information to know how to spend that money. For me, I just spend that money on stuff that's on the street.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I launder it.
Trying to flag somebody.
If it was me, if the feds is listening, I'm over here telling them myself.
And this is
you take it to a strip club.
I've thought about this too much. I'd find one of my ops. And I'd give them a lot of it.
Ooh.
I'd find a way for them to get a lot of it.
That's very.
See, I like things like that. It'd be like 10 years later, too.
I thought I was bad, but the way he looked, he believed it.
I like that one.
I've been thinking about that sometimes.
See, I think
That's a good one.
I need less because no matter, I'm going to be smooth with how I'm moving the money anyways. I need less of that and more of, what are you expecting of me now? What's coming with this? Is there going to be some sense of entitlement you feel for me? Are you going to hold this over my head? Are you going to if I go put a down payment on a house, are you going to be like, well, she only got that house because I broke her off? You know what I mean? Like, I would need peace of mind knowing that this is truly a gift and it's not some kind of leverage. Or, that would be hard for me to accept unless I felt it was truly just a gift with no, you know what I mean?
Those are certainly the things that need to be considered. Okay, now what about this premise? Do you feel like too much money is a thing? Do you feel like you could get a certain amount of money and you would just have to give a certain amount of it away because it would change how it would just, like, you know, we get up and we go to work and we do it begrudgingly sometimes, but I think we take for granted what life would be like if we didn't have enough responsibility. Right? Like I don't like going to work isn't like the greatest joy in my life all the time. But there is fulfillment in what I've been able to do. Like I was having this conversation earlier today where I was telling somebody, thankfully through my line of work, I can say two things undoubtedly. I've changed a life and I've saved one. Right?
Absolutely.
And so that's something like I hang my hat on, and there's no amount of money that could give me the sense of pride that gives me. So do you feel like there's too much money that you could get?
Yeah. There's a social aspect that comes with working.
Yeah.
That now, post-COVID, that I realized that, like, I can't imagine, like, celebrities, right? We always judge them like, oh, how can they get that way? They got nothing but time on their fucking hands. Right? And even then they be saying they busy or whatever, yeah, but your vacations be a lot more extravagant than mine should be, right? Like the amount of time you got, you working, but you're working hard for a specific stretch because the type of shit that they do, like, you can't tour forever. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like even Tech N9ne tours a lot, but I ain't heard about a Tech N9ne tour in a while. He's taking a break.
Oh, that's because you're not looking.
Oh, and he's been on tour still?
I just have heard some people on different podcasts talking about the amount of money he makes from touring, and it's just the volume.
But even then, like, you know, you take off from work, like, there's only a designated amount of time you can get. Yeah. Right? They can request whatever, they build their own schedule based on how much money they feel like making. Work gives me purpose in terms of, like, just fulfilling my schedule. Yeah. This is going to sound wild, but I be thinking about ants.
Excuse me?
Ants. Ant Farm, Ants, the movie, Bugs Life, all that. Ants be working all the time. Shit's so crazy. What? I'm serious. This sound wild. It sound like I be thinking about ants. It sound like I had about a fifth or something. But I'm serious though. I really be thinking about ants because I be like, yo, they be in our house all the time.
I want to say something that's inappropriate.
But I'm just saying, like, they work all, like, ants' purpose is to work all the time though. That's literally and for the betterment of their colony. Us as human beings. Now, let me get back on track because I know that's why I went with the punchline first. But us as human beings, like, we work to help better our community and keep our society running. Whether you work in the banking industry, you work in, like, the social service aspect, the healthcare service, we're all a system of things of keeping us going on this planet and living as long as we can peacefully. Yeah. Right? And so that's what I'm saying. Like, work gives us all purpose. And what is your purpose if you're not working or if you're not doing something that you're passionate about?
I think that's two things. I think one, that's dangerous. That's a lot of times like the conversations we have alongside mental health, where that if you feel like you're not being productive, you're not worth anything. And that's dangerous. Your worth, people, does not come from your productivity. It doesn't.
Wait.
It comes from...
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry.
I'm looking right at the camera.
I don't mean to cut you off.
Because I need them to know.
I didn't know we can do that.
Yeah, we break the wall. The TV's on.
When I really want to drive the point, because that's something when I have these different seasons in my life, when I'm in an extreme depressed episode, I'm in the ADHD freeze, I'm in the autistic burnout, and literally I can't be productive. Those were the times the most before I understood what was happening, that I wanted to take my life, because I had always, and most of us do, especially in a capitalistic society, especially in American society, we put productivity and worth. We say, if this person is very productive, they are worthy. They are a good person, and then you internalize that. We have to understand that I know, right? We have to understand that just you being here makes you worthy. Okay. But moving on to answer your question. Yes. I think that I used to have, I grew up in poverty, bad poverty. I still struggle. And so I'm still working my way out of poverty. And I used to have a disconnect with money. I used to think money was the root of all evil. I don't want too much money. You can have too much. What I've learned is, and I read a book, I believe it has a green cover, and I believe it's called A Bad Bitch with Money.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the comments.
That's a fire title.
It's something along that, I'm a bad bitch with money or something like that. And what I read in there was that, and it was pivotal because it changed it changed the way I thought and I approached. And now I want to make as much money as possible. I want all the money in the world, because the more money you have, the more people you can help.
Yeah.
The more money you have, the difference. So I don't think it's about having too much. It's maybe who has too much, and maybe it's not about having too much, but it's about harboring it. So it's like, what do you do once you have all this money? And now all I can think is, the more I can live in abundance, the more abundance I can give to others. It's dangerous because obviously you got Bezos, like not everybody operates that way. But just because if you're someone who knows you're not going to operate that way, then you should be striving to make as much money as you can. So that way you can go out there and change more lives and make an impact, Let
me ask you this, because I want to kind of go back real quick, right?
Yeah.
In regards to what you said it was dangerous, and I'm not trying to like test you. I'm asking you a legit question.
Yeah, I don't want to get us canceled on YouTube again.
Well, because the thing,
giving out fake facts. Apparently, I'm a Juicy J giving out fake news.
But this is about personal experience, because I can only think of, right when you said that, I was like, shit, like, from high school all the way up until now, I can only think of maybe a 2-month period where I wasn't working.
Wow.
Like, what's the longest you ever gone without working?
I don't know that I've never not worked when I could.
And what's the longest you've ever gone not
Well, I
working?
stayed home with the twins, so
For about
a year and a half.
And then that time span, right? Based off of what you just said, right? How did you feel being at home versus like, because I imagine 85 to 90% of the people you knew got up and went to work during that time. And so like you had an easy, you weren't tied down, because I want to watch how I say this. You weren't tied down to a specific place. Like you can move the kids with you, whereas I'm tied down to an office.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or maybe your ability to have lunch with somebody at any given time, or even moving your time around is a little bit different.
Are you trying to say that her not having a job during that time provided her privilege?
No.
While I was home taking care of my twins.
And so no,
I'm not.
I'm gonna let you land, but
that's why
I'm also just acknowledging
I'm letting him.
how it kind of sounds.
That's why I'm looking up, because I'm trying to get to where
And
my
I
thought.
know, and we've been potting long enough. That's why I'm like, I'm gonna let you get there. and
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
gonna tear
trying to
that
find
ass
a way
up
of
if I
saying it
need
without
to.
it sounding like that, because my wife works at home too, right? And
But that's different.
Yeah, because she was actually working.
Yeah.
I don't like saying that either, though.
But
I felt like that was a big-
No, she's working. versus I was at home with my
in
kids.
2025 culture, like that's work from home. Like she has a job. There's no differentiation at this point. Because if you can be at home on a computer with a job, then if you do a job from home, then you just work from home.
But that's the thing. Like, did you miss work? Maybe that's a better way of saying it.
I missed adult interaction, and I missed
That's where I'm getting at.
a little bit of like having a place to go each
Why
day.
Because you asked that question like a man, because you're asking.
But
You're asking her surrounding a circumstance that she can't avoid.
No,
That's
because
so
if I
real.
Like, because like even you being able to say, I can, it's only been 2 months that I've been off of work, and it's
But
like
I'm
because you've
thinking
never been pregnant for 9.
and that's the thing.
On bed rest.
Yeah.
With an at-risk
So,
pregnancy.
yeah.
Oh shit! Here we go.
Yeah.
Carl ain't shit today.
No,
Fuck him.
it's not that. But when you ask the question, it limits the amount of answers.
All right, even if I flipped it, right? I don't know. It's because I don't know anything different from my experience. That if I had an experience of not being at work for a year and a half,
would it mess with your mental?
would it mess with me mentally? I'm like, yo, like,
and a lot of people, yes.
That's what I'm getting to.
Because we have been ingrained, it's been ingrained in us that your worth comes from productivity. So if you have to take a year and a half off, did I feel not as like, it did mess with my self-esteem to be at home and to not feel like I'm fulfilling, especially I'm purpose driven.
Yeah.
To feel like I'm not fulfilling my purpose. I wasn't planning on having kids anymore. I thought when I had my kids, I was planning on a business. I was planning on moving to Europe. I was was devastated. I'm like, these motherfuckers robbed me. Like, you know.
And there's two.
And there's two.
Yeah.
So,
Same age.
So, you know.
What'd you just say?
Same age.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Not even just two.
Man, I should be mad at
Oh, that's how that works, though.
I got two 2-year-olds.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Look at him say.
You should have seen me today at the BMX.
He said same age like there was another option.
I mean, I got two.
I got twins. One's 5, one's 6. Like that ain't how twins work. That might work too. You just did it again.
Oh man.
But yeah, it wasn't an internal struggle. But because I'm somebody who struggles with understanding, not connecting my worth to certain things, which I've always done, which is why I feel worthless a lot of times, and I have to actively work through that. I had to work through that, but it helps that I understand. I have a level of understanding of why I'm feeling that way, and it's not just from me. It's actually from outside people and things that are being projected onto me. So instead, it should be, I wish I didn't have to struggle with those feelings. I should have felt empowered. Like, I'm at home. I'm raising my children. I'm not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with putting, my kids are in school, daycare, preschool, but it should be a different feeling. It should be like, I'm proud of this. I wish I could clock into an office, because you know how much easier that is than dealing with 2-year-olds all day and not having a break. That's the difference. You go to job, you clock in, you clock out.
And your coworkers.
When am I clocking out?
Her coworkers ain't got no rules.
And they're mean. They're bullies. So I wish that would switch. So when women had to take breaks from work for working, or if someone's suffering with their mental health and they need to take a year off so they can truly recover, or you have to take time off because your loved one is sick and you need to care for them, that it's not, well, I'm not working, so I'm not as productive. No, your productivity doesn't lie in how much money you make someone else or yourself. Your worth lies in how you care for people, how you treat people, how you show up in this world.
But if you had money, based on what you just said, let's say the same circumstances. Now let's say if you had enough money to take care of like your living expenses and and enjoy the time, would you still feel that same way? That's what I was getting at, right? Because my thing is, it's not about finding self-worth and productivity, but it's like when I go to work, I don't spend a lot of money.
Yeah. You
get what I'm saying? Like
oh, okay.
You get what like there's certain things that the productivity is more so like it's like keeping me busy. If not, I'd be sitting around waiting.
So you like the structure. You like the structure and the schedule.
I don't know anything different. That's what I'm saying.
And a lot of people thrive off structure and schedule. In fact, that's one of the main things my therapist, all these therapists, for someone like me, I need it. I need rigidness. I need, even just your structure of, we need to be here every Sunday. This is probably the longest thing I've ever been committed to. And even though I've had my moments where I'm late sometimes, or I've had my little breaks, the fact that I come here every, that's structure for me. Right. I do this thing on Sunday. This is my number one priority. That means I have to set up certain things so that way my Monday can work this way. This has added structure to my life, and I can see how that benefits my life in different ways. So there's absolutely having a job or having a set place to be in a certain routine or structure, however you want to call it, is definitely essential, and it can help people feel like they are being, at least that they're going to a certain accord, that they have a staple, that you have something to look forward to, that you have people depending on you, that you have to show up. What happens is when we start internalizing that if we don't do those things, then that means we're less worthy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do.
So kind of finding, it's gray, right? Kind of finding that line of yes, these things are important. They can help support me. They can help keep me grounded or leveled, but also realizing that internally how I feel about myself shouldn't be dependent on these outside circumstances.
Yeah, that's real.
I'm just glad that, the turbulence was shaky, but I landed that plane.
You did. You got there.
Hey, it sounded crazy.
You were sounding like you were saying that your job is easier than mine.
It was turbulent because you was on the back of the plane jumping up and down. That's why.
My bad, man.
It was actually causing a ruckus.
All right, here we go. Read him a week. I'm 33. He's 40. We have 2 kids together and a third on the way. Just last night, we had friends over for dinner and we're talking about childbirth. And it was like with our first two, and he said that he didn't want to be there for the birth of this one because it's too traumatizing for him. And he wants my mom, who lives in a different country that has Parkinson's, to come and be there in the delivery room instead. He said he doesn't want to be in the room and to deal with my shouting and screaming of, oh, fuck, over and over because it's too stressful for him.
He should have left that part out.
He should have.
I was with him until he said that.
It's too stressful. I'm so sorry you're so stressed.
Wait,
no. We're going to talk about that, though.
I'm so sorry you're so stressed.
I do have something to say about that.
This is why I brought it up, and I thought of you. Exactly.
You already know I'm hot.
He's never mentioned to me that he doesn't want to be there for the birth. This is the first time it's come up, and it was in front of other people, which was kind of embarrassing. To be honest, if this was the only issue in our marriage, I'd chalk it up. So obviously, there's some deeper stuff going on here, but I thought it was interesting because there are people and men that I've met, at least specifically, that do not want to be present, like in the room while their wife is giving birth.
So, can I go?
Yeah. I'm trying to hear what you want. I'm curious.
So this, I think this is where we meet our crossroads.
Right?
Okay.
It's because
as
I'm getting ready to say what I'm getting ready to say. I could see why I'm not. Anyway. So, in a relationship, especially a long-term relationship, especially a relationship where people have children.
Do you have children?
No.
Okay.
No, and I'm like, I don't. It's not a desire of mine. It's never really been.
Oh, okay. You're not gonna have children.
Yeah. No.
Oh, I love that.
I've heard stories of a man maybe becoming less attracted to his partner after children are born. And while we would hope that, and we'll just say men, right? Because I'm sure this has happened both ways. We would hope that a man would be able to love his partner through everything. We also have, and so I was going to give you this compliment. You take very good self-inventory. Even the stuff that's not going right, you're taking the first step of recognizing, okay, this is what's affecting me right now. That's the way that you then address the problem, right? So if I'm taking self-inventory that I felt a little different after the last time, and I don't want to, and I don't want to feel different. Is that bad, or is that me saying I'm taking responsibility for not putting myself in a situation where it's going to make my partner look different, or make me look at my partner differently?
I think I'm with you. Because that is a conversation I would want to have. And unfortunately, I've heard of men saying that there's been, it's a traumatizing, or it switches things. And, it's a big deal watching childbirth. And I would want that. I would want that type of level of honesty. In fact, I will not have another relationship unless I have that level of honesty. Hey, Jay. The last two were a little rough. It took me a while to get that image out of my mind and to be able to be intimate with you comfortably. How would you feel if, I sat this one out?
Okay.
I would be absolutely open to having that conversation and possibly willing to entertain it. I think especially if it came up anywhere else, I think that where it's hard is because it's during childbirth. And childbirth is literally the most vulnerable time in a woman's life. And it's actually proven, it's shown that the way that men behave, there is a switch with men and how they behave after their partners give birth to their children. And not always in the best. And so I would be worried that would be a precursor to that kind of behavior. And the fact that this isn't about our sex life right now. This is about you and I. This is our third child, bringing this child into this world. And I don't want anybody else but the person I made this child with. I need your support. I need you to be that rock. I need you. Okay, you don't want to see down there? Get up here by my shoulder and hold my hand. I understand the cussing is a lot, but you expect me to go through this alone because you're going to be less sexually attracted to me when I need you in this moment more than any other moment as we're bringing our child into this world? I think I would be appreciative of the fact that my partner brought the conversation up to me, but I would be lying if I didn't say maybe I felt a little bit of less respect towards them, or I felt like they weren't willing to push through something that seems superficial for something that's like, this is a life-changing moment in our lives, you know?
That seemed hella reasonable the way she put that.
And it absolutely is. And I guess it then comes back to what's the actual question? Because I guess what I was referencing is, am I not allowed to bring this up and talk about it? And so I'm glad that you responded in the way that you did. Like, we can have this discourse, and you're entitled to feel how you feel, I guess, where...
Does me being there, do I have to be, like, me being at the hospital? I think this one, was she saying that he didn't want to... It was that he didn't want to be in the delivery room.
Yes.
But if me being in the hospital, does that matter, or I have to be in the room?
I feel like it's, at that point, it's like, no, the point is to have you in this shared space with me as a support system as I'm going through this.
And so,
proximity, I need your presence.
And when the event occurs, I very likely will be there. But am I able to have discourse over what, you know what I mean? Like, you might then say something to me to remind me again what the purpose is in my mind, and we don't have any control over how our mind works, might just be going to that.
Exactly. And if we don't have that, you know, if there's that fear, then we can't get to those solutions. Where it's like, okay, babe, I hear you. Don't come to this view. Come to this view. You can stand over my shoulder. Or, okay, the cussing, the screaming is a lot. You know what? I use these earplugs with the twins. Pop them in, it will take the volume down. Like, now we can,
that's not more disrespectful.
Like, now we
She's
can,
like, ah, and you're like,
well, you can still hear it, but like we can workshop through it. Versus like, if you don't say anything, now you've watched me and now you're less attracted to me. That sucks. Or you do say something.
Well, no, and right, and it's like that exclusivity, and like, men don't have something that occurs to them that is vital for you to, like, you know, sustain and prolong your family, where it might make a person feel like that. But I'm glad that you responded in the way that you did. It's like, yes, we can have a conversation about it, because I do feel like a lot of men they have feelings about things that they don't have complete thoughts about, and then they get judged because they say it, and it's like, oh, well, that sounds or feels this way, and it's like, this is just how I was able to articulate the thought. And historically, nobody's ever encouraged me to articulate thoughts in general.
And it's so funny that you say that, because the more conversations I've been having with men is alluding to that. That, like, I don't even have the space to say what I'm thinking or feeling, because you're going to pop off with an attitude, because you're going to shut me down, because you're going to say I'm wrong, because of course you should be in the hospital. I'm having your fucking baby. Like, how could you even ask me that, right? Like, so I'm trying to learn, and I hope as women, especially with Black men, specifically men of color, that we are trying to rein in our own emotions and thoughts and reactiveness, so that way these men can talk to us. We say that men don't talk, they don't communicate, because they don't feel safe to, because they haven't been encouraged to, because sometimes our reactions aren't always there. And let me be clear, I'm not putting the responsibility of men being better communicators on women. What I'm saying is that we can't play this blame game. If we want men to meet us halfway and start talking more and sharing their uncomfortable thoughts that might hurt our feelings, that we might not agree with, we have to be willing to hold it and take it and listen. When I first was hearing all this, I was like, what the fuck? You know, but it took me a second to be like, as you were expressing yourself, like, you know what? No, I need to know this information from my man. And how can I facilitate a space for my man to talk to me about these things if he's scared of my reaction every time?
Oh, and just for the record, I'd watch the baby be born.
Yeah, I would too. But you was pulling up from three, just bang.
Yeah, I
was sitting there thinking, like, I do want to feel safe.
Yeah, I want to hold her hand and let her know.
You know what's funny though? You say that, like, and I'm saying that to be funny. My wife knows this, but I felt that way. Not just about her, but like a lot of women that I had ran into, like, just historically.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
like, I couldn't be vulnerable. I
thought you said about the baby.
Yeah. No. I looked, so I was like, look, man, this is a rite of passage. Like, I looked. So I didn't stand on the side, but you know, if someone did, I understand. If you're a little squeamish, I get it. And the funny thing is like, I would tell another man if they asked me, I'm like, look, bro, you probably forget, like, after like couple months. I mean, you ain't getting no action anyway for a while after it's all said and done. You probably forget. You'd be too tired to like even think about anything else. So, but I thought about like that vulnerability piece that you was talking about. I wish that. Fuck, I'm gonna make sure I don't get killed for this. I'll be getting now that 72% in my head. But I wish that like women had more conversations with men, right, to kind of get where we're coming from, because we don't have these conversations among each other all the time. I actually even had random shit to fill in time on there where it's like, why don't men have real heart-to-heart conversations? Like we feel like it's too hard for us, or it's like it makes you look weak or whatever.
I could tell you why.
Why?
Because we're judgy.
Yeah, but I've never had that problem with you.
No,
and I never had that problem with Duran.
But okay, and let's just be honest, right? We're friends and we respect each other, right?
Yeah.
But we judge the hell out of each other. And it's evidenced in like, oh, Carl's that type of dude, or he's that type of dude.
But I tell you,
no, and that's fine. But I think that's sometimes why men don't, because we all want to have this very like exclusive approach to how we do things, and the easiest way to like hold on, and it's not the smartest thing to do. It's like it's not based in sound reasoning, but the easiest way to do that is just not tell people your business.
And we've even seen it like in the way like and that's why I always like talk about gender roles, and I'm always pushing my own children to do things outside of the typical gender role, is because we see and like play with children. Like normally with young boys, they're encouraged to play games, to be active, right? They're playing a game, they're running around. There's not a lot of dialogue, right? You're learning how to work together, you're learning how to in different ways, whereas with young girls, we're doing a lot of pretend play. There's a lot of house. There's a lot of, you're the mom, I'm the dad. And so we're encouraging girls to communicate and to have dialogue. And we're already at a young age setting them up to say, this is what girls do. We sit down and we talk and play with each other. And this is what boys do when they play together. As adults, hang out, right?
Yeah.
Men, they play sports together. There's, they're active. Like there's a lot less opportunity for that kind of dialogue, which I think transfers into maybe adulthood.
When a guy is single and then he meets his one.
Yeah.
And when you have as a dude, when you have a good partner, your life gets a lot better. Things get organized. You have clearer thought processes. You sleep better. Like and you know these things. That's how you know that you're in a good relationship, right? Yeah. And usually men have this very unique experience when they meet their partner. Girls have had that all their lives. Like, girls have girls that they do stuff with. Girl, let me run this by you. And men usually get that when they meet the girl.
That's interesting.
And so the nature of the relationships that we have, girls do things. Like my cousin was hitting me up earlier today, and he was like, oh, me and my wife, and she drove, and she was this, and she was reading the instructions, da 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 da. Girls do that all the time with their best friends.
And well, that's, it's
dudes
funny.
don't do that. And then even the sports thing, right? I love this analogy. Girls do things in community. When dudes play sports, think about it. They all have a different position.
And it's competitive.
Even when you're on a team, somebody's the point guard, somebody's the wide receiver. And that's why even in like professional sports, you have dudes like inflating their worth because they feel like, well, if I didn't catch the ball, but somebody had to throw it to you. Women do things in tandem, in community, in support of one another. And it's by nature of socialization. They've been a marginalized group where they've had to support each other, or given just the way some men have acted historically, they might be extinct if they didn't. If they had to rely on men to look out for their best interests, and men have always looked out for the best interests of men.
Now you're preaching. But you said something that hit me. And you said, because I've been reading on this, it's that men, when they meet their one, it shows that men are happier and their lives become easier or better or uplifted. Whereas women, and this plays into kind of why certain women, why we've been having this conversation about the divorce rate, women are actually shown to be happier single.
I believe it.
Women, because like you said, you got someone now you have this person who's helping you do all the things and getting you organized and picking out your clothes and making you look better and making your doctor's appointments and blah, 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 blah. So men are leveling up. Whereas women were taking on another responsibility. So a lot of women, I'm finding, I'm coming out of my marriage, is like, women are holding on to their singlehood because they're realizing they're happier because, again, we have girlfriends. We have community where we can still get our shit off, that we can vent. We can still have someone go to church with us. We still have people around us that fill in that gap and aren't adding layers of responsibility.
So that is why women is the key part.
And because of now women not needing a man to own a home, and we have more freedoms and liberties than even just 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Women are not in a position where they have to stay married. So that's why women are leaving their partners and staying single, because it's actually proven that single women are happier than women in relationships.
And we're only able to even...
and that's not to like shit. That's not a blanket statement.
And we're able to even grasp that information because now we live in an age where we don't demonize women for being a certain age and being single.
Yeah, not as much.
Because right. Well, no. And mind you, we still have a ways to go.
Yeah.
But that was always the thing, right? A man could be single and it was no big deal.
And you're a spinster.
A lot of women were probably in relationships because they felt like they had that as a responsibility to do that because people are going to look at me a certain way if I don't.
Oh, absolutely. I even felt that even in this day and age, like when I was, going back and forth and like people are going to look at me differently, now I'm a single mother of this many and I don't have a spouse and, you feel the weight of that even now. So I couldn't imagine when it was like, well, you were a failure, and a lot of times it was pinned on the woman, so. Interesting.
That is crazy.
Stay single, ladies.
I hate that y'all cracked open the Matrix. Like y'all done figured it out, decoded it and everything.
I was like, if that's the Matrix, we got a lot of work to do.
We don't even need these dudes no more. I got.
Well, we need them for one thing. We'll keep you around for that one thing.
And you know what? And we become sensitive to even that. Like for real.
No, you guys really have.
Yeah, don't use me.
No, literally. I'm not just a piece of meat.
Hey, you know what? Cease was part of my my maturation as a man and wanting to express myself and just be an adult and everything. And I feel like when we came up, that's when I started witnessing. That's when I started witnessing like a little bit of a change in like how things is kind of being ran between like men and women. Like I feel like now I'm out the game. Like. For these young kids out here, everybody's something out here. But yeah, man,
that's a space to be in too, because it's like you're at this very interesting phase of life where you can see the world changing faster than you're choosing to acclimate to it. There was a time where things were happening and you were able to like be in the know and in the mix fast, and so there'll be trends that happen and people will be like saying words and I'll be like, what was that? They'll be like, you didn't see they was daring to dance, and I'll be like, nah, I didn't.
That's like the number one reason why I love working with young people, especially when I work with like I would say like that high school to like young college age, because they keep you relevant. They keep you in that conversation, they keep you up with the times. But it is interesting to be in this position where, like you said, we're not jumping on what's the newest trend or the newest technology and having almost like resistance. I know we've been talking a lot about like the AI, and I'm like, you got to get on it, you got to understand it, we can't shy away from it.
I seen somebody do something yesterday with ChatGPT that has me like mesmerized.
Okay,
what did they do?
I'm not gonna.
Do you have
always trying to hack.
No, not yet.
You're tripping.
Yeah, I
actually got it.
I downloaded it more recently for some graphic design work to see, to play.
The questions I asked that thing, you can't ask anything crazy anyway.
It's a good jumping off point. It is a good jumping off point.
Fam, they told me that TikTok is like the new Google for these kids.
Oh, it's so. When you were talking about Reddit and it being like a reliable source, that is how I feel about certain TikTok communities. Like I know I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get like the real deal.
Yeah.
Reddit's probably even considered like ancient, and Google itself.
And that's why I like Reddit, because it's a certain type of information share on Reddit.
Yeah.
So for certain things, like, and I'll, for certain things that I already know about, I just like to hear other people talk about them as passionately as me.
Yeah. No, that's that is a real thing right there. That piece.
Yeah, that feels good. It makes you feel like, oh, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, like I remember that too, and I had that visceral feeling, and I'm glad to hear somebody articulate that.
Yeah, it's validating, right?
Yeah.
According to Apartment List, about 60%, or apartmentlist.com, about 60% of homes in the U.S. now have at least one spare bedroom. The opportunity is particularly notable among empty nest households. Zillow reports roughly 21 million such homes where older residents living with no children have at least 2 extra bedrooms. And with baby boomers retiring and birth rates declining, census data projects that by 2030, adults over 65 will outnumber children under 18 for the first time in U.S. history. With a nationwide housing shortage and developers having largely abandoned building new entry-level homes, the idea of unlocking millions of unused bedrooms through intergenerational home sharing is gaining traction. Between 2017 and 2022, the number of families sharing living spaces with non-relatives increased by more than 500,000, suggesting growing acceptance of the practice. Now, in general, what this article was talking about was that there are more.
I'm glad there was a general.
What you be?
Because I thought you was gonna pause and be like, "What you think?" Like,
No,
I think you need to read that again.
No. I jumped straight into that because it's gonna lend credence to the point I'm about to make. I've been seeing a lot more people that are younger living with older people that aren't a relative to them. Like you could be. So in this story, they were talking about like this lady who was a school teacher for like 3 decades. They said 30 years she was. I don't even know why they just say 30 years, right? But for 30 years, and she retired, and she was like, "Yo, I'm just gonna get a roommate," and she got a 20-year-old roommate at like 60. But I keep seeing that. I don't know if y'all have had any experience of that, but like when I was coming up, this is what I sound like an old head right now. But when I was coming up, I had no interest in living with somebody who was, more than half my age.
I think I was watching Love Is Blind and somebody said that they had that situation.
That they were living with someone that was older?
Mm-hmm.
Would you find that to be odd?
No. So my for all intents and purposes, my sister-in-law, she passed away last year. We love you, Diane, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And her husband still lives with my mother-in-law. And he's he's in his 30s, and she's a mother of a, well, I won't say, yeah, but yeah, she's older.
Yeah.
And I think that we change what we would do based upon circumstance.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was a time where people didn't need to live with anybody else.
Yeah.
Right. And now we're in this weird space where it used to be like, oh, young people can't find housing. Older people can't find housing. Now people can't find housing. Mm-hmm. So you're having to be creative. I know a lot of parents who have been empty nesters for a while who miss that feeling of taking care of somebody. I know some people who were in partnerships where a main component of their partnership was the taking care of their partner. And they're like, I still want to do that, but maybe not be intimate.
Wow.
So maybe having another adult that you can have adult conversations with, but also do, do a little for.
Autonomy.
Yeah. And we were having that conversation about purpose. Some people find meaningful purpose in serving others, which I think is dope.
Yeah.
And so it goes both ways. It's somebody younger knowing that this person may have kids, but the kids ain't living with them.
Yeah.
So that means something. It might be this older person knowing that this person has parents, but they're not living with them. So that means something.
Right.
So I don't think it's weird. And I love that in a time that I personally feel like is like super tumultuous, and I'm very like, just like
apprehensive,
anxious about these next 4 years, that there's stories like this where it basically sounds like people are building community within community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that at all.
I just find it even interesting that that this is like, the intergenerational home like is such a topic because, most places around the world.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah. With family, though.
With their family, yeah.
Family, that makes sense. Someone I don't know, that's where it's odd to me.
Well, we're changing with what the social norms are. We talked about special needs children earlier, right?
Right.
And so there's a whole world of supported living and independent living where able-bodied people are employed to live with individuals who are maybe on the higher end of the spectrum, maybe, right? Yeah. That can go out and maybe work a part-time job, but then that's not enough to produce the income to work somewhere. So then you're connected to the regional center. The regional center provides you a grant for somebody to live in your home, and they'll pay $750 of their rent, right? Yep. And then that's also their employment. And then you have service out. You know what I mean? Like, This is the community healing itself. This is what has come from. Remember, our special needs children used to be the cousins who were, we talked about this a lot, who were a little different.
Yeah.
We didn't have diagnosis. We just knew that they did things a little bit differently. Yeah. And then this is like now education coming out and awareness. Hey, this isn't different. This is
autism. Know what autism was at 10 or 11.
Exactly. This is autism. And it didn't mean that it didn't exist.
Yeah.
It didn't mean that it didn't exist in the numbers that we have right now. We just didn't support those people appropriately.
Yes.
Right.
And if we want to take it way back, people with mental illness used to be incarcerated.
They used to be institutionalized.
Well, no. I'm talking about like, so I'm making a distinction between the two. Yes. That's one end of the spectrum, and no pun intended. And then also we're criminalized because we didn't know what to do for these. I don't even say with these people, for these people.
There we go. Yeah.
So the only thing that we could do was isolate them, and then what prison was supposed to originally be rehabilitated. And that's the whole thing. I'm a criminology major, but so I just say that to say that we are seeing people figure it out. That's
exactly, and that's the great way to say that, because my entire life I've been figuring out. I've had roommates forever until I was married.
Older roommate too,
and older several times.
Over 50.
Well, I was 20 at the time, and they were 45. So like there's still that, and there's actually like a lot of like we talked about. It's hard to pod and be friends. It's hard to be friends and be roommates. It's hard to be friends and live together.
That was me and Brandon,
right? Like there's
that was a weird operation.
You're adding an extra level of intimacy or responsibility or proximity onto a relationship, a friendship. It's going to bring in different dynamics and different situations and circumstances that are going to test and try that relationship. So there's something to be, like you said, community. I have a need, financial. I'm an older person who needs someone to help me with this financial need. I'm a younger person who doesn't want to have the drama of living with a friend, who doesn't want to have the issues with living with a cousin or whatnot, and wants to have a different type of schedule. There's a lot of benefits. So it sounds weird on paper, but in theory, it actually works a lot to live with somebody whose lifestyle is maybe a little bit off from yours, because there's not so much. There allows room in the schedule. There's allows different levels of maturity, and the coexisting kind of works better sometimes. And living with a stranger.
And sometimes
you're better behaved a little bit.
Sometimes when you know less about a person, you're more mindful of staying out of their way.
Exactly.
When you become comfortable with a person, then it's like, oh, that thing in the fridge, you might eat it. But if you don't really know them that well, you're not going to touch their food. Yeah.
Or if I do know him, I'm still not touching it. I got it because he used to just leave brick hard food in there. Like, it'd be there forever.
Oh, no, Brandon could cook.
He had the McDonald's on there. McDonald's, that's when I knew it didn't perish. I stopped eating it before supersizing.
Yeah, that's a
true. That McGriddle's from Sunday. It's still in great shape.
Or it's like when you find that fry in the car, and I was like, I can use this to unlock my car right now.
Why isn't it moldy?
Why is it still existing? Yeah.
Oh, crying right now. That's funny.
This should not have this much buoyancy in water.
Why is the vanilla shake foamy? Like ice cream don't foam.
Yeah. Ice cream don't foam.
Why is it still a little cold?
It's Wednesday.
Yeah. It's June. It's Wednesday in June.
You know what's funny that y'all say that though too? And I be being an adult, we be talking. I be like, yo, like if we ever broke up.
Why do y'all be talking about that? Of all things,
I like to just keep the spice there.
You just want her to know what you could do,
which is shit.
Yeah, exactly. He ain't going nowhere.
I ain't different. I mean, we've had a few spats where I looked at that apartments.com.
Change your mind real quick.
Hey, look, I was tripping.
Hey, you gotta.
Sorry, baby. I love you. You right, I'm wrong.
They were leaving when I was getting here. So when I walked up, I kind of like stayed back because if I'm walking up and she's not expecting me to come up, she might get a little startled.
Right.
So when she made eye contact, then I walked up, gave her a hug, and then you can see Corey like, you got a smart daughter, because she didn't come up and like do like, who is that? She went off to the side and she waited till I was getting ready to walk in the door. She was like, is he supposed to be here?
You know what she
sounded like? I just hugged your mom, but you still asking really good questions.
She sound like my mom.
Hey,
she got that old soul, man.
That's a blessing of being able to have your grandparents in your life, is that they saw a time that you can really never even imagine. Like I think about that sometimes. Like my grandmother knew a world that I've only read about in books, and what I read about in those books was horrible. And she lived that.
Right.
And I still got to see days where she smiled, like cried happy tears after some of the
enduring what
that's
a crazy thing. You know what snuff is?
Snuff?
Yeah. Sound crazy. You know what it is? You gotta know what snuff is.
When you run up and take off on somebody? No, it's the tobacco.
Yeah, it's like powdered tobacco.
Okay.
And the only reason why I know that is because my great
With the pipe?
No, it's like it looked like a Tiger Balm can. The one that she had it was like a weird can.
And you would know because the men would have it in their little back pocket and it would lead this little circle ring. Yeah.
But she would get it from Wrigley's right there in Southeast there. And I remember, and I'm just thinking like that's not something that's popular anymore.
Yeah.
Yo, you know what's funny? And I'm saying that and there's parallels to this. This young lady was like, "Yo, what's a Black and Mild?" I said, "Oh, shit,
that's different."
And I was like, "Yo, that's when I felt."
Wow.
We're in the world of vapes.
No. Yeah. I got one for you because we gonna go back in the past and
shit. You wasn't outside for a minute.
Yeah, we haven't. Huh?
Have you ever had a Brazil nut?
I have, but I do not remember having it.
Have you ever had a Brazil nut?
I have no idea what you're referring to.
So it's a nut and it almost looks...
Oh, it's an actual fish.
Yeah, okay. And it almost looks furry from the shell. It's not furry at all. The texture just kind of looks like that visually.
Okay.
And it's almost like a cashew on steroids is how I would describe it, right?
Okay, I like cashew.
Now...
Hard to find? I imagine it's hard to find.
Yeah,
no, you can get them. You can go on Amazon right now and they'll ship them to you in the next hour.
That means it's hard to find.
But I can't get it from the grocery store.
Yeah, you could.
Albertsons?
Maybe.
All right.
Okay.
Probably. I don't know. I've never actually gone there. I actually went to a grocery bargain outlet and got it, so they're available.
I love grocery outlet.
That's my spot.
That's my jam.
Now, apparently, they have a nickname in the South. They're called end toes.
Yes, nigga toes.
And so this
for real.
Somebody told.
I don't know why thinking it's really that's why I was like, yo, I have had this. You know,
somebody, and so in this,
I know he was like, yo, I said in for a reason. I know, but
because we're talking about breaths of knowledge that, like, again, me and other people know about this, but I never knew that, and I've been knowing about a Brazil nut since I was a young kid. Because my grandfather, that was his jam.
Yeah,
and so I was. I guess I'll tell the whole story. I was somewhere. I won't say where I was at, and somebody told me that, and told me very nonchalantly.
Like, you wanna.
No, they were just telling me the story about
Oh shit!
They were white.
Oh,
and they didn't call them Mentos.
They said the word.
They wanted, yeah. But to them, they were just sharing information.
Where were they from?
Not anywhere close enough to be able to tell me that.
Why would they choose to say that to you?
Backwoods, Alabama.
Because
for me to be like, he's with the Klan.
I'm a safe black dude.
Okay.
For some people.
Okay.
And I've been around the block long enough to know that as we walk through our social environments, even though people don't have the designation written on their forehead, I see some neurodivergency. And so
you give grace.
I can discern when some people just don't know better.
Yes.
And
that's true.
That person that said that to me in the presence of other people is going to write, you know what I mean? Like write their own story.
Yeah.
They don't need me to push that forward.
Yeah.
If you didn't know how to read that room, that's not going to be the last time you did that.
Exactly. And someone else can give you.
It's just like when I was in high school, I used to work at Save-On. It used to be CVS, and a white gentleman and his wife came in, and the dude kind of was looking at me a little suspicious, and the wife, she was just friendly as I don't know what.
Yeah.
And he gets ready to pay for his stuff, hands me the money, and he goes, "Honey, can you believe it? They're letting a colored boy handle the money." And so right in that moment, it's like, what did you just say to me? Then he reaches in his pocket and gets ready to hand me a crisp $20 bill.
That's a tip?
He was giving me a tip.
That's disrespectful.
No. See, right? It depends on what your level of discernment was. In his mind, he had never lived in a world where that was even allowed. So he was trying to recognize in that moment, in the way that he could, that this is okay to me. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to tip you like I would do a white person to show you that it's okay with me. Now, obviously, California state law says that when you're working in retail, you can't accept the tip. Yeah. So I snuck it. But point being, even at an early age, I was like, there's value in being able to recognize that maybe I was entitled to trip. But I would have been tripping knowing that that person wasn't intending to do that. And really, my intention at that point would just be to embarrass them.
You know what? Oh, my God. That is so valuable, everything you said. I have had in the last like you said, I try to be very self-aware, and I'm a very reactive person.
Yeah.
I'm very traumatized. And
So, me too. So I
be
feel
flying
that,
off the hip, but there's times where I look back, especially there was a specific time when I was a ballet captain, and I dealt with someone who I didn't realize at the time, and now I know was experiencing homelessness. And, I experienced homelessness when I was pregnant with my twins. And so I have a very different lens now. And at the time, and I'm not even like employee of the week kind of person, at all. I pick and choose, but it was the way that this brother came in, like the whole situation, and I just reacted, right? And he had been using the bathroom after being homeless, that's what there was hotels that I would go into in the lobby, and I would brush my teeth and you find your little spots, right? And most of the time, if you're working with John, and John always says it's cool, then, you fly in, you fly out. And then, of course, now Susan's there, and Susan doesn't know that you guys have this arrangement, and now she's being employed, and that's kind of how I came in. Like, who are you? I don't know what's going on. You're walking up, like, I'm the supervisor in this spot. You're walking up in here. And I gave him a hard time. It ended up becoming, we actually got into a huge interaction and ended up almost getting, like, physical. The guys had to come in. It was a whole thing. And I look back at it now, and I'm disgusted with myself because I realize he was unhoused, and he was going in there every day to brush his teeth, wash his face, and do what he needed to do. But because I didn't stop and give grace and think of the situation, and I just flew off the hip, I behaved in a way that was inhumane, and I would never behave that way. So there's so much value in not reacting immediately, not being offended, not jumping to whatever conclusion, but taking a step back and saying, okay, what's actually happening here?
Yeah.
What discernment can I use? What grace can I give? Okay, this is the rule, but how can I look outside of that? And that's how you meet people where they're at. And that's how you forge more connections. And that's how you're able to move through things versus them coming to like a point of contingent. And I just really appreciate you saying that, because it's really important for us to operate in the world. Like, I heard someone say, we're all just having a human experience.
Yeah.
Like, I need to remember that when I go up to the bank and I'm frustrated because my card's not working and I'm coming in hot, like, this person that's helping me right here is having a human experience. I don't know what they've been through, what they've gone through, what they've dealt with right before they walked in here. So maybe they're a little testy, but I walked up testy. They're at work. Oh, well, I don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
So just like having that lens, I think is like imperative if we want to be in community with one another.
Yeah, that's deep.
You think this generation gives more grace?
I think
We're getting there.
On average, in comparison to other generations.
I think we talk about things that people used to like place too much like self-worth in, like, right? Like, everybody in this room is biased.
Yeah.
But that's not something that we've always been able to recognize as that, right? And then, right? So then,
even as people of color,
so if we could say everybody's biased, we can also say bias is pervasive, meaning that anything that you learn, you were taught. So is that your fault? So the process really is unlearning. Like, right? You were raised in certain ways that weren't the right way, or you were raised in certain ways that don't match 2025. And I say this all the time. Your parents taught you stuff from the perspective of 80 whatever to whatever period. But they could never teach you about 2025. They could never teach you about how to live in a world after a pandemic. They could never teach you how to live in a world with certain administrations. They could never teach you to live in a world where, remember when 50K used to be the median? Yeah. So how could they teach you about a world where 50K really means that for some people, you're living in poverty.
Yeah. And some people that were making that are struggling now.
Right?
Because I think about people who retired at 50K.
They were teaching you about a world where legitimately the majority of people that had a college degree were the higher earners. And you can't say that anymore. Yeah. And so they taught you as much about a world as they could. And then that's what adulthood is living in the actual world. Where now, for a lot of us, we're teaching our parents.
You said it so perfectly. Unlearning.
Yeah.
We take on all these coping mechanisms. We take on all these inner critiques that become our inner voices. We take on all of these things from all this output. And then once you become an adult, then you have to decide.
Yeah.
What am I going to keep in my toolbox that's benefiting me, my family, my community, those around me, and what am I going to unlearn? I call it shedding. I'm shedding parts of myself, and it's confusing sometimes for people. For me too.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, I really like this part about myself. I really like that I'm funny and I cuss a lot and I can be vulgar, but then I'm like, oh, I'm shedding those kind of parts of me because they're not serving me where I'm at anymore. Or that was a defense I'm deprecating because one, it is funny and I love funny, but also two, there's a defense mechanism in that why am I doing that?
Yep.
I need to unlearn that behavior.
It's like two things can be correct at the same time. It's funny and it's harmful.
Yes, it's funny and it's harmful. And I love I love funny and harmful things.
And to these points, right? Think about it, and you don't have to like give any specific examples, but think about people that you love and that you trust and that have wisdom that taught you racist things.
That's right.
And so as people of color, we don't have this conversation because we're so busy combating racism that has actual power to it.
Yeah.
So there is a difference.
Yeah.
But growing up, there's people that I cherish that told me things about groups of people based upon their experiences. This is where bias comes in. Because if you had an experience, you have no other way to look at it.
Exactly.
If you got jumped every day by an Asian gang, Asian people don't like you.
You're going to be prejudiced, of course.
Right? You know what I mean? And then you teach that to somebody else and that becomes their reality.
Yeah.
And then they have to unlearn that.
Yes.
So it's like, that's the growth, is sometimes having a way that you do things and then learning how to do it differently.
That's the same way I feel about like these young kids having their experiences all through like the internet.
I think it's kind of cool.
Do you?
I do.
I think it's harmful.
I mean, I think that anything can be harmful, but I think that, and maybe this is like wishful thinking, but I feel like I have hope for more kids because there's more avenues for you to like live a sustainable life.
That's interesting you would say that.
And mind you, there's a whole other side of it where there's detriment, there's negatives. Like, you know, I'm not saying that one's better than the other, but I guess if I'm just working with what we got, I can't have any other reality. That's what I have hope for.
Yeah, but I mean, part of it is also is like we could still teach. Like, okay, let me backtrack. You know what I liked, and this is a weird correlation, but what I liked about the Kendrick and Drake battle was that it was back to a region, like having self-worth and pride and such.
We don't have enough time to talk about it.
But what all I'm saying is, in general, is that like I like the fact that like we weren't all just one. Like we can laugh at shit based on like what our region was because we went outside and did those things, and then to find out now,
it wasn't a fair fight, y'all.
Hour and 43 is crazy. Oh wait, what? We'll say that for another day.
I know.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
You know, I'm fascinated with this whole Drake and Kendrick thing.
I could surmise it, right? Is that hip hop is a culture, and culture has a lot to do with region. And so in this back and forth, we live in an age where it wasn't just about hip hop, it was about fandom.
Okay, but wouldn't you think Drake has the bigger fandom?
Okay, spread out across everywhere. And that looks a certain way,
but
right?
It's saturated.
Right? So it's like it's you, it's that person, it's this person. They all look different. And then now imagine on the other side, you have a fan base and Kendrick fans look a certain way almost. You know what I mean? Like that representation looks different. Even like the video for the biggest song, Not Like Us, right?
Yeah.
Having all those people looked very LA. Mm-hmm. What would that have looked like for Canadians?
But that's not, you think Canadians are the root, like, so to LA is the base of, you know, Kendrick's fans. So is Canada the base you think?
No, but that's the thing. What is it? That's where the regional part comes into play. Kendrick has an identifiable base.
I think Kendrick knew that too.
Huh?
I think he knew it.
I think he knew that, and I think that
he reminded us
and
that.
so, and then to do the conspiracy theory part about the bots and the pushing of one person's agenda over the other, it's so easy to push a region because once you set the narrative up, the region does it for you.
Power of the people.
Right? There was people that were going to side with him just because it was an LA thing.
Yeah.
And there was not that factor on the other person's part. Because what if that look? Because with him, he's so spread, right? Was it going to be the drill rappers in the UK? Was it going to be his third cousins twice removed from Houston?
His Degrassi
Was it going to be
base?
this homogenous mixture of Canadian culture, which... Like right now, if Drake from the get-go wasn't just Canada, if it was like Toronto to the core, I got people on my album, right? You know what I mean?
Nothing that validates.
Well, maybe he should have thought about that.
But that was all created well before the beef. That's why it was able to be made to look organic in the way that it was. It's Kendrick knew who was going to ride for him, you know?
He knew his people would show up for him.
Right. And he knew that his region was a historic region. So that's like, even when he had the pop out, people came to LA.
Yeah.
That's a big, so even without that, coming to LA is a big deal for people. And then it was people that were like tied into LA culture or fans of LA culture. They got to live it in a different way. Most of those people that were at that show didn't know about, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Rimbo and Chicken Cheese, and you know what I mean? Like, just like it was a moment that it just, a lot of things just lined up in a way that I don't think that you could have predicted, because really what he was focused on, and rightfully so, was just a rap beef, and it became a lot more than that.
A lot more than that.
That's so crazy.
I wonder he.
I didn't think we was gonna go this might be your second longest pod.
I don't know.
In general, but yeah, man. Yeah, we can go ahead and get to it, man. 3 cheers.
As it starts to rain, that was perfect timing.
Is it raining?
Yeah, it just did right now.
Damn. I can hear you right.
Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
I have a 3 cheers, but I gotta pull up the name so I get it right.
Oh, rest in peace, Voletta Wallace. Passed away. Between that, there's been a lot of things happening in my life in the last couple of years that let me know like we're at the end of an era, or like our era is starting to end. One of them also became, I started to see a lot more videos where it's like, yo, if your number has 19 anything in front of it, you old head, right?
Oh, yeah. Because now there's more, or a growing number of people that were born in the 2000s and beyond.
Yeah, 19, we're aging ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember being nostalgic about the 90s in a very specific way, because it was like the generation before the current generation, and now being like 2-3 times in my math's bad, but it feels now like an ancient time.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. Anything with a 19 on is crazy.
The big one is cell phones. I can't imagine living a life without it. It almost seems barbaric.
Of not having one.
Right?
Can you go out a day without your phone? Though?
Oh, I do it all the time.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think most people can do that.
I'm an avoidant person,
Same,
so
yeah.
it serves a purpose more so than like is a deterrent.
Yeah.
You're right. I went the whole day without. My shit died, and I didn't even think twice. Some people will go home because they didn't have a charger with them.
Once mine dies, that's like a get out of jail free card. I'm like, God wants me to be in isolation today.
It's true.
That's true.
God wants me to spend time with myself.
Hey, my location goes away when my phone dies.
You ain't shit. You letting your shit down.
Oh, man. But yeah, shit, even my daughter asked, she's like, oh, did you have black and white TVs when you grew up? I said, that's crazy. Like, I guess that's a real thing. Like,
but we had TVs where you need 2 people to move them in.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
If I showed them how big the fucking TV, they used to, they shit on the wall like this.
No, they're not used to TVs that could have killed you.
You remember the entertainment system?
If you had a good TV, it was also a death threat.
Those things were so big.
They still work. They still work. These shits be breaking.
No, they do. I know. My dad still has his. In his office, he has a flat screen, but in his main living room, where he has all his knickknacks and stuff, he still has the big screen wide TV with the wood, the wood entertainment center that goes across.
At least he don't have a TV sides. On a TV.
That's crazy.
That used to be the wealth.
But you know what's crazy? To your kids, that probably looked like 1936 to them. Like how we looked at shit.
Yeah,
so
real,
that's what's crazy. Jay?
Oh, okay, yes. I wanted to give a 3 cheers to the Hightower Racing Foundation. You can find them on Instagram at Hightower Racing Foundation. They are a non-profit organization empowering underserved communities through the transformative realm of extreme sports. So how I actually got connected to them is through a woman. Her name is Danielle, and I met her through the surf community. There's like a whole Black and brown specific surf community and skating and biking community that I'm like starting to get tapped into.
Okay.
And that's huge for me because I have always been attracted to things like this, like BMX racing, skateboarding, surfing, golfing. But because I grew up in poverty and, I'm a person of color, those weren't really things in my world, and so I'm constantly seeking those opportunities for my children. I don't want them to be limited by what they see, lack of representation, or lack of the money I have. So I'm always seeking resources. And so I met her through the surf community because we went to a surf camp, and they did a free today. I was there at what college is it? There's a whole SD BMX racetrack behind a college off of Kearney Mesa. Cuyamaca, yes.
Or is it Cuyamaca?
I think it might be Cuyamaca. It's off of the Kearney Mesa exit.
Oh, I don't know if that's Cuyamaca.
But it's behind a big recreational center, and they provided... I brought all 3 of my kids, and I even sent an email because I started getting anxious about the twins. I was like, okay, I don't know. Maybe this isn't a good idea. Like, my son's on the spectrum. She was like... She put me at ease. She was like, don't worry about it. There's lots of open space. The power of peer pressure. They don't have to do anything. Like, she was like, just come. Yeah. And I was like, okay, we coming for sure.
Oh, I love that.
It was so, I just shout out Danielle. Like, to have that anxiety and someone like help you push through it, like, is so special. But so they provided the bikes, the helmets. They had swag bags. My kids got the little throwback packs. Long sleeve shirts with their logos, water bottles, stickers, and they took them on the ramp. And it was like, my daughter would never, where would she do that? Like, and she was like, I love this. I want a bike. It was so much fun. And my little one, Magic, I didn't even think she was going to rock with it. Finally, she sure enough saw another little one. She was like, bike. The girl, she hopped on the bike. The lady, Danielle, was like, come on, and took her on the track. I was like, my eyes were teary because I was like, look at my daughters, my brown daughters in this like white male-dominated space normally doing things that I could never have imagined having the opportunity to do. Like, it was so empowering for me, so empowering for my daughters. Like, my son hopped on the bike, played around a little bit. They were so patient and kind. They fed them lunch. They had snacks. Like, I just cannot say enough about, and this is like local people that are putting this on and finding grants and finding funding to be able to bring this to our communities. So, they're going to be having more workshops throughout the year, so connect with them, support them, donate to them, follow them. Any organization that is bringing this kind of care to our communities specifically, like, we need to get behind. And we need to promote, because a lot of times we don't know. It's like word of mouth, and you don't know that these things exist out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so shout out, 3 cheers to Hightower Racing Foundation and Miss Danielle at Your Mom Surfs on Instagram.
Your Mom Surfs is a crazy name, but I like it.
Right? You are Mom Surfs.
Cease?
I want to shout out this group, Faith in Motion, that I'm a part of. We are trying to tap into the faith-based community to provide support to foster youth here in San Diego County. A lot of people have the misconception that if you're going to be an integral part of a foster child's life, that you have to be a foster parent.
Yeah.
But you could be somebody that invites a family over to have dinner and have the kids come hang out with your kids. They could be a part of your church and the different activities that they're doing. You could donate baby seats from members of your congregation. I really want to implore and encourage people just to do a little bit of research in regards to the part that they want to play, if they've ever given that some thought. You can go to www.sdcaresforyou.org. I'll make sure it's the .org or .com. I'm pretty sure it's .org to receive more information on how to be a CASA, which is a court reporting special advocate, and really just do the things that kids need to have normalcy. I think a lot of times we put responsibility on kids to manage their behaviors, and it's like, well, what are we doing to manage their lives? So I really just want to encourage people, especially people of color, to be that representation of kids. We can talk about kids being placed in the homes where that don't have a cultural mirroring, but if we're not making ourselves available to these children, then what are we really doing to solve this as a problem?
Good point.
What was the name of the organization again?
Faith in Motion, and you can receive more information on Faith in Motion and other ways that you can be a part of a foster child's life by going to www.sdcares4u.org.
Okay, awesome. I'm definitely gonna look into that.
Even if it's just information sharing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you say, I could never do this, but I can articulate myself in a way that could get other people pumped up for this. It's a worthwhile cause, and that could be you doing your part.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, like you said, we have this misconception that you're right. You're like, oh, in order to support our foster youth, that means I have to become a foster parent. So even you saying, like, just setting up a play date, you know, organizing within your own church donations and things like that. There's other ways we can serve our youth.
Yeah. All right. And with that, we out.